If you can set boundaries around it, AI has the potential to be one of the greatest assets in your life. But that is the key word, if you can have boundaries around it, and that is what we're going to be diving into today.
Leveraging your AI for peak productivity, or let's just be real, getting some time back in your life is possible, but not if you're arguing back and forth with your AI.
Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
Welcome back, Evolvers. It's Emilia. And for today's episode, we have personal experience that we can't wait to share as you, as an Evolver, begin to leverage AI for all the reasons that are related to not just peak productivity, but your mental health and your sanity, let's be real, to try to get, whether it be time back, more time with your family, or who knows, better at your work, better at whatever it is. And the opening, Bianca, I have laughing because one of the things that I said was making sure that your entire time while using AI isn't spent arguing back and forth with your AI. And I have personal experience with that because whenever I ask my Alexa, which I will not say out loud, it's kind of like Voldemort. You can't say it out loud because who knows, there might be an argument back and forth that I have to do prior to actually just getting the data.
Oh my God. Emilia has literally cussed out her devices, and it's so funny to watch. So if I just blew anybody's eardrums out, I apologize. And it is hilarious seeing her and Alan like talking to their AI. It's so funny. Also, just a little quick update. Emilia and I, if you're on YouTube, we have upgraded. So Evolve Ventures has upgraded to new microphones. So the audio quality is potentially going to be a little bit better. And like I said, now my cackle is going to be in HD. So if you see me laughing, lower the volume. All right. Anyways, let's continue.
Well,
Speaking of AI.
On that note, we need to give the credit where it's due. Shout out to NLPS, our production company, who has generously donated these microphones to us. And we hope that the audio has improved, although it is Bianca and I's technological incompetence when it comes to the microphones, that if there is any mic issues or audio quality degradation, it is not the microphones. It is, in fact, the users. We're figuring out just because we're podcasters does not mean we are experts when it comes to sound quality. So to that end, turn us up, turn us down, whatever helps you hear the cackle in its high definition, and most importantly, the content that obviously we're talking about. So we are here. It is June when we are recording this episode, and this episode is coming out in July, which if you are also listening to this episode, speaking of cool things happening at Evolve, we are kicking off group coaching which is our program that we have every single year, only once a year, with 10 different members. So I just want to celebrate before we get into the thick of today's episode. I want to celebrate all of the members that have been selected and to have fully enrolled in today's program, because tonight is when we are kicking off. And it's going to be a life-changing program. So super excited for all the Evolvers that are going to be in that growth journey with 9 other growth-minded Evolvers, and super excited about that. So today's topic, Bianca, you mentioned how hilarious it is to watch or listen to me and or Alan, my partner for anyone that's new, argue back and forth with our AIs. Now, this conversation that we should be having is not necessarily about the arguments of AI, but let me ask you this: how much, like, where's the trend line at when it comes to you observing us arguing with our AIs? Is it up or down?
Meaning, do you argue more with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
okay. Oh yeah.
Fair. So you're
Trend
seeing
line
us
is up.
argue a little bit more. Well, turns out that's not just an us problem. What we are seeing in the statistics are so many different use cases and adoption rates like crazy when it comes to AI. I mean, anyone listening to this, I'd be surprised if AI has in some way, shape, or form infiltrated your workplace, your world, the apps that you use, your devices, your technologies, etc. But the thing for this episode that I want to make sure that we're all aware of is the time spent literally burnt up doing the opposite of what is known as leveraging our AIs for productivity and mental health. So with every new innovation or every new tool, which we see AI as, there's always a little bit of that messy action that's happening. And as users adopt it, so picture a graph, as users adopt it, there's always that quote unquote user error that's giving the feedback back to these tools and technologies to help it train and get better. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people, unless they're extremely conscious and focusing in on this, are actually kind of being those, I don't want to say guinea pigs because I don't like that analogy, but they are the test subjects where when you go and try to use your AI or you try to improve your productivity, let's just say you're writing a paper for, I don't know, a case presentation that you're going to do, or you're putting together slides for a report. You go and you try to do a little bit of that research. And the question that you give the prompt or the AI in this use case, it's all about how much data can you include, what level of precision can you have in that prompt. And if you are really focused on making sure that you're getting your time back, doing so in a way that makes sure that you're not going back for the next 50 minutes back and forth with your AI and your chat box, trying to get what you got initially involved in for the first time. So there's an increase in time use with our AIs. There's an increase user error and back and forth that's happening with these AIs. And what I care about is wanting to make sure that we as evolvers are conscious about our tech use in the fact that we're not going back for another hour and a half fighting back and forth with these tools and technologies, because if you're an evolver, you're likely needing a little bit of time back. So how can we leverage AI for peak productivity? How can we leverage AI for mental health? How can we do better when it comes to using these tools? That's what this episode is all about.
And not allowing them to become a crutch. Because unfortunately, what we are going to see, what we're already seeing, is everything getting outsourced to AI to the point where we are no longer going to be learning the really important and necessary skills of writing and research and drafting up emails and whatever the case may be, because everything is getting outsourced. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I said, how do we also ensure that we are setting appropriate boundaries with these tools? Because every tool, every upside, there is always a downside to it. And if we are not aware of that, we might be significantly negatively impacted by the downside and stop getting the gains of the upsides.
Yeah, exactly. So that literally, in its most practical, tactical application is, for example, what Bianca was laughing at earlier, of us just simply asking our AI a question like, what is the temperature outside right now? And then having it pop back a question to me of like, what makes you ask that question, Emilia? It's like, excuse me. No, just answer the question and don't give me all this unnecessary information that I have to fight back and forth with you just to answer my GD question. Like, what the heck are we doing? Why do I pay business services for you to give me data when you're asking and grooming me for information, not answering my question? So every tool has this challenge, this setback, especially when it comes to user adoption. Now, I think what is really fascinating, and this is from a McKinsey & Co. statistics, about 78% of organizations are using AI. And when we look at it now from less of an organizational adoption standpoint, and we look at it from like consumers, so your average Joe and Jane, this is about 53% user adoption. So within just 3 years, AI adoption rate has already surpassed from an initial growth rates of both the personal computer and the internet. So when
Whoa.
I put that into perspective, exactly, we know how our lives, if we kind of grew up as millennials, let's say that's a lot of our listener demographic, we grew up kind of right where the dot-com bubble was already in effect, and we grew up kind of as Google babies. And so we had to some degree or effect that we were the last generation prior to personal computers, prior to cell phones, all that stuff. So we had this moment of, we remember what it was before internet, right? But what that statistic is really showing is that everyone who grew up around that time period was wildly impacted by the internet and personal computers. AI is severely outpacing that change. So when I say that, it's really hard right now for our brains to kind of comprehend the level of not only adoption rate, but the impact that it's going to have. And why that matters for any evolver that's listening to this episode, that let's say, for example, you're like me, you're a tech nerd, and or you're someone that is using AI and trying to figure out how it can help you in your world. You're likely going through the gauntlet of, whoa, oh my goodness, it has incredible capabilities. And like Bianca, you were saying, it actually has so many capabilities that it could become my crutch. Now,
Yeah.
what happens when we're starting to take the easy way out all the time? We're starting to use this AI, and instead of getting mad that it's asking us questions, we're like, oh, thank you so much for asking me, what made me think about why I want to ask about the weather today? Like, thanks, someone cares about why I'm asking. It's like, whoa, wait a second, let's kind of peel back. What I want to talk about in this episode is more about the productivity components and how you can leverage, because a lot of people are experiencing cognitive burnout. Burnout is at its highest rates than it's ever been. So that's a hot topic that I want to address in this episode. But what is causing that is a lot of the cognitive overwhelm that we as human beings, with huge impacts like AI, are having in our world right now. What do we do with it? Where do we use it? Where don't we use it? Where do we draw that line? And so this cognitive overwhelm, it's impacting us in a way that we're actually causing more issues for ourselves as we adopt AI than we really need to. So I kind of want to harness the power that we all have as human beings to think creatively and strategically. And if that's not your normal way of thinking, that's okay. That's what we're here to help you evolve and do. Y'all got any comments?
I have nothing to add. Go ahead. I haven't done enough research on this to be able to speak more than what I already have, but I can talk from personal experiences. It is very easy to want to just let this think for you. Just let it do things for you. Just allow it to take over. It's very easy. It's way more, it saves a lot more time.
Yeah.
But again, it also takes away very, very critical skills that too many people are going to lose in the future because it's being over leveraged, because it's being under leveraged in the right ways and in the helpful ways, and over leveraged in laziness, for lack of a better phrase. So, Emilia, how do people, and how are you helping, not just business owners, but all people in your coaching leverage AI adaptively, helpfully, productively, safely, ethically?
Hi, everybody. I wanted to jump on here. My name is Julie, and I wanted to give a huge shout out to Evolve Ventures and to my coaching with Bianca. I'm like many of you. It's like I've read all the books, positivity, the glass is half full, it's not half empty. Tried to get myself away from negative people, tried to think positive thoughts, suffered from depression, on medications, tried everything, counseling, tried so many different things, and it helped, but I never felt like I got to the root of the problem. And I started listening to Evolve Ventures, amazing. And then I did a free coaching with Bianca and thought, what could it hurt? It's free, right? Oh my gosh, that day changed my life. I blurted out to Bianca things that I had never even really thought about myself. And I ended up setting up coaching with her. And I know so many of us say, oh, we can't afford coaching. But let me tell you, that coffee that you drink, that cupcake that you have, those cookies that you buy, that restaurant you go to, all those little things to make you feel better, you can take all of that and put it aside and invest in yourself. Use that money to invest in you, because you don't need those cookies to feel happy anymore. You don't need those restaurants to feel happy anymore. When you know how to be happy yourself, how to make yourself happy. And it's not all great. Every day is fine, but I can now acknowledge things. I can acknowledge why I feel the way I do, and I can work through it without having to feel like there is no help. People are great. I definitely recommend Evolve Ventures and Bianca.
So we have a lot of podcast episodes that are coming at this conversation. It's a great question from multiple different angles. So I appreciate the question. And for this one in particular, the biggest thing that I could think of, the 30,000 foot view, is at least putting that on their radar. Like, for example, I have a client who is a solopreneur. I'm going to use her example as someone who I see this all the time, who now when she jumps into conversations with, in the container of our coaching session, she's often referring to chat. And I'm hearing almost every single coaching call that she's had conversations back and forth with chat for over an hour. And after that, she's gotten nowhere. And so as those conversations start to kick up and I start to hear that in my coaching, which is not common or not uncommon to her, a lot of people are really referring to the use of a business service like AIs as a conversation. Cue the personifying of a technology. So number one is
she giving it a name.
Yeah, making it like my bestie, like, oh, she's so cute. She gave me this answer. It's like, hold on, wait a second. I just have to be kind of the IT police for a hot sec. Like, I see you, and let's not forget this is a business service. This is a tool. Let's kind of be mindful about personalizing it. Now, I think that that's going to happen no matter what. I mean, if you're into the tech world at all, you know that there are humanoid-like robots that are being developed right now to where they're in and have already had pre-orders and in demand, and technology is and robots and everything is increasingly coming into our day-to-day. But right now, I want to talk about that woman, that person, and how we can just simply use the chat box that we have when, let's say, for example, we are a busy mom, we are a busy person, and we want to get our bang for our buck, aka we want to use that 1 hour of time to buy back a little bit of our time and be the most productive human in that 1 hour so that you can go have a great time with your friends in the boat. You get the most important things done that you need to get done. Now, one thing that I find most people don't really exercise is what's called a decision-making matrix. How do you categorize what is important, what is urgent, and what is significant? And that's usually prioritization 101. But these skills aren't really being taught anymore. And so when you go into your, let's say, 1 hour of sitting down and trying to get the most important things done, your brain kind of goes into this freeze. And if you have ADHD or ADD and you're someone who gets overwhelmed very easily, you have time blindness, like this is something that you're going to struggle with. And I mention that because those numbers and diagnostics are coming up now more than ever, given the fact that we are using technology and having extremely shortening time and attention spans. So let's say you have 1 hour before you have to go pick up your kids. You have 1 hour before you got to go to work, and you want to make sure that by the time you get home, you can relax, you can do whatever it is that you want and love doing. This is where instead of saying, typing in your chat, hey chat, help me understand, help me brain dump, help me understand like what I need to do right now, because people are using it like that. And then for the next 50 minutes, go back and forth, giving the data with 10 different strings of enter, type, back and forth. Meanwhile, you have 50 minutes already burned before you even get down to what is the most important thing. And then all of a sudden you have 10 minutes to execute on that. What are the odds you're going to take that 10 minutes and execute on what is most important, urgent, and significant? What I have seen and what I am seeing on the day-to-day is most people feel overwhelmed because the thought that's coming to them is like, I can't get that done in 10 minutes. So they don't even start. You do that enough weeks, again and again and again, you don't get anything done. And then what happens? You start to feel overwhelmed, you start to burn out, and that cognitive overload comes in. So what I'm going to instead have you do is what's called prompt engineering. And prompt engineering is essentially improving your prompt engineering skills, AKA your question asking or demand prompting skills that are allowing the prompt that you give your chat or your AI or Claude or whatever you use more effective inputs, in other words, effective data, so that the response that is coming back at you is not taking 50 minutes to eventually get to the same outcome. Instead, within seconds, within minutes, you have exactly what you need to do in exactly the order of prioritization that you need to execute on, and in the way that is most important and significant to you, your life, and your priorities. Okay. So I'm going to put right now this prompt that I've given so many of my clients I'm going to put it in the comments after this episode goes live, but I'm going to read it because this is one that I've given to so many clients, and it's saved them hundreds of hours of going back and forth with their chat that they have come back to me and said, Emilia, thank you so much. I didn't realize how many times I was having unnecessary conversations with my AI to get the same result. I'm like, you're welcome. So this is what you're going to write. ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is. I have 50 minutes to execute my highest leverage priority. My tasks are categorized as urgent, significant, important. Help me select one actionable task from my list that aligns with the highest impact on my long-term goals. Guide me to break it down into a clear, focused set of actions for those 50 minutes. Ensure I stay dialed in with a step-by-step approach, and at the end, I'll return to log what I have accomplished. And then after those 50 minutes, so you go in, you get the list, it's going to be insane what it brings back to you instead of like, help me decide what I need to do today. Once you set your timer, you execute in 50 minutes. Once you're done doing that, I want you to write this. Chat. My 50-minute block is complete. Help me summarize exactly what I executed. Guide me to list the specific outcomes, decisions, or progress I have made, and then prompt me to note how I feel about what I've done so that I can reinforce my progress and reduce any sense of unfinished work. Why I give that to you is because most people, what we're seeing behind the scenes is most people are using their chat. They might go out and do something, but then there's a cognitive dissonance. What they do, and I mentioned this in a past episode, what they do is not getting self-assigned. And because it seems small and insignificant, the input doesn't necessarily log and track in our dopaminergic systems as, oh my goodness, I've done something today and I need to give myself a win. And so we feel like our to-do list is never actually to-done list. And what happens is we never actually feel that momentum, that progress, which is leveraging our dopaminergic circuits in order to keep that going and keep in that focused level. So essentially, this is going to be great for anyone who feels cognitively overloaded, you feel stressed out, and doing a brain dump of what your priorities, tasks, and goals are incredibly helpful in order to give that data in efforts to leverage the tool as opposed to going back and forth, fighting with your AI and then getting nothing done. So
this might seem, I mean, if you've made it this far in this episode, number one, good for you. Because this is probably an episode that a lot of people would have passed over and said, I don't need to listen to this. This isn't relevant to me. This isn't, I can't apply this. So number one, if you have gotten this far, good for you. Number two, this is definitely an episode that you are going to need to listen back to a few times to really understand what Emilia is talking about. I definitely will. Once this is released, I'm going to put that prompt in my AI, even though I don't really use AI that much anymore. I really try to steer clear of it because I want to develop my own.
Critical thinking skills.
Yeah, pretty much.
Executive functioning. Prefrontal
Yeah.
cortex.
Yeah. So I only use it when urgent and or necessary, but I will
Nice.
put that in there when I do. So thank you for that. Any final thoughts before we wrap up and give episode suggestions?
The only thing I would say is those people who have made it to the end of this and who have stayed humble, I think it's the people like you who are going to make sure that they are not getting taken advantage of AI technology, and your mental health is going to be a lot better than anyone else that is using it. Because trust me, there are people that are using it and they're not doing this cognitive training that is 21st century cognitive training that I haven't found a lot of people talking about, to be honest. And these are the sneaky things that are under the surface, just like when technology and personal computers and the internet came into the fold, people who learned how to code and how the internet worked were far better off than those who didn't. So these are the skills, the underlying skills that you won't hear about for quite some time until some random article journalist picks this up, and it's going to be far too late to kind of get ahead of the curve. So let me nerd out. Let me help you stay humble on this. And ultimately, what's most important is protect your mental health. If you feel like you're getting burnt out and if you feel like you're going back and forth and fighting with your AI, trust me, there is a line to draw in the sand. And I know not only from personal experience, but also from professional experience, I'm seeing more and more people struggling with this, but they don't realize what they're contributing to the equation. And a lot of the times it's their usage with their tools that are not nearly as dialed in as they could be. So don't let that be you. And on that topic, Bianca and I both feel very strongly that episode 462, how to set up your workplace for safety and success, is going to be a really good episode for you to jump to from this one. Other than that, I feel complete. Bianca, thanks.
If you are looking for a world-class coach who is going to be able to help you really leverage AI, cultivate your own brain, really develop those critical thinking skills and cognitive functioning skills, and just really, really, really be the most peak performing version of yourself, reach out to Emilia. She works one-on-one with individuals, teams, businesses, business owners, families, family systems. Homegirl does it all. She is phenomenal. If you are in the state of Massachusetts and you have Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, Evolve Therapy is currently accepting clients. So one-on-one, families, couples, we do it all here. If you have a problem, we potentially have a solution. So give us a shout out, reach out. A lot of the information is down below.
In the show notes. All right. As always, Evolvers, thank you for your interest in the science of holistic mental health. I encourage you to keep evolving and stay abreast with the times. Keep evolving, everyone.
Bye, everybody.